Jace sat alone at the back of a dusty space bar on the outer ring of Kyrax station. His fingers were black with engine grease, and his last few credits had just bought him a bitter drink that tasted like burnt metal. Around him, aliens of all shapes and colors laughed, drank, and forgot their troubles. But Jace couldn't forget his own. No job, no food, and nowhere left to run. Then she walked in, tall, smooth violet skin, glowing silver eyes, and wearing a flowing black cloak that shimmered like oil in the light. The alien woman moved straight toward him. Every head turned to look at her, but she ignored them all. Her steps were quiet, graceful, and full of purpose. "Are you Jace?" she asked, her voice low, soft but serious. He blinked. "Yeah, who's asking?" "My name is Neela," she said, sitting across from him without waiting. "I need your help. And I'll pay you very well." Jace leaned forward. "What kind of help?" She looked around first, making sure no one was watching too closely, then placed a small black data chip on the table. It glowed green for a second, a credit token. Jace's eyes widened. That chip held more money than he had seen in months. "I need someone to act as the father of my child," Neela said. He laughed, unsure if this was a joke. "What? You want me to pretend to be a dad?" "Yes," she replied, calm and serious. "For one court appearance. Just one. You don't have to do anything else. I've already made the arrangements. I just need someone. Human, and you fit." Jace stared at her. "Why me?" Neela hesitated. "Because you're not from this sector, you have no ties. No one will. Ask questions, and I checked you have no criminal record." He scratched his chin. "You already checked me out?" "Yes." Jace looked at the credit chip again. It was enough to buy a small ship, or pay off his debts, or eat a real meal every day for the next year. Still, something didn't feel right. "You're hiding something," he said. "Why not ask a friend or someone you know?" "I can't trust anyone from my kind," she said quietly. "This child is different. The court needs a father's presence to approve her identity registration. If they see I brought a human, they'll assume the child is half human. That makes it easier." Jace tilted his head. "But is she half human?" Neela didn't answer. Her fingers trembled slightly. She quickly pulled them back under her cloak. "You won't even have to touch her," she said. "You don't need to speak much. Just stand beside me, sign the file, then leave. You'll get the rest of the credits after." Jace sat back in his seat. Something about this woman felt broken, desperate, but also dangerous. He looked at the chip, then back at her. "What's her name?" he asked. Neela blinked, surprised. "Luma?" "All right," Jace said finally. "I'll do it." She let out a breath. Not relief exactly, but something close. She reached into her cloak and pulled out a wrist device, handing it to him. "This will allow you into the court and..." "Let them scan your ID. Don't lose it," Jace took it. "When do we go?" "Tomorrow," she said. "I'll pick you up." She stood up quickly and left the bar, vanishing into the crowd like smoke. Jace was left holding a credit chip and a strange bracelet, and a feeling in his gut that this was going to get weird fast. The next morning, she came back right on time. A dark transport ship with no markings hovered above the loading deck. Jace stepped in, and she motioned for him to sit. "Where's the kid?" he asked. "She's already at the court center," Neela said. "Safer that way." He nodded, but something still felt off. They landed on the upper level of the station, a place Jace had never been allowed before. Everything was shiny, clean, silent. Guards in silver armor scanned them and let them pass. They entered a wide hall with a glowing floor and soft humming walls. At the far end, a floating platform held a tall judge and a half-circle of glowing council members. Jace's heart beat faster, and Lei stood tall beside him. Her voice was calm, formal. "This is the father," she said. "His name is Jace. He agrees to register the child." The judge looked at Jace. "Step forward, human." He did. A scanning light passed over his body. The wrist device buzzed. "Match complete," a robotic voice said. "Rental verification pending." Then a Soft cooing sound echoed through the hall. Jace turned. A young alien child floated in a soft carrier. Big violet eyes, glowing faintly but inside them. The pupils were round, human-like, and the nose, her tiny nose, looked just like his. His heart stopped. Jace whispered, "That baby looks like me." Neela didn't answer. The judge tapped his data pad. "Human traits confirmed," the voice said. "Proceeding to DNA verification." Jace looked at Neela. Her face was pale now, and deep in his chest, a quiet storm began to rise. Jace couldn't sleep that night. He sat in the corner of his assigned guest room, back pressed against the wall, eyes locked on the glowing outline of the door. The image of the baby Luma haunted his thoughts. Her face, her soft skin, the tiny hands that reached toward him. But it was her eyes that wouldn't leave him alone. They were violet, yes, but the shape, the way they followed him, it's the way she stared like she already knew him. It felt wrong. No, not wrong. Familiar. He kept replaying the moment when the scanner had lit up. Parental verification pending, it had said. That was standard protocol, a formality. But something in the tone of the robotic voice, or maybe something in himself, made it feel final, like truth. And Neela, she didn't look surprised. She looked scared. Early the next morning, a soft chime echoed through the room. Before he could answer, the door slid open and Neela entered, her face stiff and unreadable. She carried Luma in her arms, swaddled in a translucent blanket that shimmered with embedded warmth fields. "She wouldn't stop crying until I told her we were coming to you," Neela said quietly. Jace stood. "You said I wouldn't need to interact with her. I lied." The words hit like a slap. She stepped forward and gently placed the baby into Jace's arms. He froze, uncertain. But the child cooed, her tiny fingers curling around his shirt. She didn't cry. She didn't fuss. Her small body relaxed completely against him. "You need to understand something now," Neela said, her voice lower, less guarded. "The court accepted your claim. You are officially recorded as the child's father." Jace looked up. It was fake, just paperwork, no. They did a partial scan during the verification. It matched. They know you're the father. So do I. Silence settled between them. Jace sat down slowly, eyes locked on Luma's peaceful face. "Explain, now." Neela hesitated, her hands clenched at her sides. Then she began pacing the small room, her cloak trailing like smoke behind her. 3 years ago, I worked in a hybrid research facility," she began. "They were experimenting with cross-species embryo development. The goal was to design a new generation of beings that could survive hostile environments, war zones, deep space, alien atmospheres. They took DNA from multiple species, including humans." Jace's stomach turned cold, said this child. "They stole samples from a human soldier injured during a supply raid. One of those samples was yours." He stared at her in shock. "I never gave anyone my DNA. You didn't need to. When you were injured on Calder, you were brought into a field med station. Blood was taken. They harvested it. Quietly, sold it." Jace looked down at the child again. "So she's mine, biologically, yes." He looked back up. "Why me, out of all people?" Neela's eyes softened. "Because you're strand bonded perfectly. No rejection, no mutations. Luma is the only success." Jace felt his pulse in his ears. The only success? How many others? Only one survived embryos. Only one survived gestation. Only Luma. Stood suddenly, too quickly, making the baby stir. "You were part of this. You helped create her." Neela nodded, shame on her face. "I was young, and I believed the project was for peace, that Luma would be a bridge between races. But the truth was much worse. When they discovered her stability, they wanted to turn her into a prototype, a weapon. I stole her before they could dissect her. And now," Jace whispered, "what do they want? They want her back. Not to raise, do, study, tear apart. And now that you've claimed paternity, they'll know she's alive. Intraceable." Jace turned away, holding Luma tighter. She stirred again, her small head nudging against his chest, as if she knew something was wrong. "I didn't sign up for this," he said, his voice shaking. "No," Neela agreed, "but you are in it now." The walls felt smaller now, the ceiling closer, a trap closing in. Jace could feel the station shifting under his feet, not from movement, but from the invisible pressure of danger growing outside. Neela looked him dead in the eye. "We have two choices. Hide, and they find us. Or run before they realize what we know." Jace clenched his jaw. "The court. They'll revoke custody once they learn about the experiment. We'll both be fugitives. The child, too." He stood there, breathing hard, as Luma looked up at him again, as if sensing the storm. "I came here for credits," he said quietly. "Now I'm holding a baby that shares my blood, being hunted by two species." Neela nodded once. "Welcome to fatherhood." Suddenly, alarms blared through the hallway. Red lights flashed. A security alert echoed over the station's speakers in multiple languages. Neela rushed to the window. "They found us," she whispered. "Faster than I thought." Jace looked down at Luma, then at the bag she'd brought. Without another word, he strapped the baby carrier to his chest. He didn't know if he was a hero, a victim, or just a man in the wrong place. But one thing was clear, he wasn't leaving this child behind. He looked at Neela. "Get us out of here." She pulled out a small black detonator. "Then follow me. Don't stop running." The corridor shook as muffled explosions echoed in the distance. Sirens screamed overhead. People, aliens of all kinds, were running in every direction. Security bots hovered low, weapons drawn, scanning faces and shouting warnings. The clean, perfect station had turned into a maze of chaos in seconds. Jace ran behind Neela, the baby strapped tightly to his chest. His lungs burned, sweat rolled down his back. But he didn't stop. Luma was still quiet, pressed close against him. But her small hand had curled into a tight fist, glowing faintly through the cloth. Neela turned a sharp corner and slammed her hand against a wall panel. A hidden door hissed open, revealing a cramped maintenance tunnel barely large enough for two people. "In here," she shouted. They squeezed in. The door sealed behind them. The noise outside faded. For a moment, everything was quiet except for Jace's heavy breathing and the low hum of the hidden corridor. He leaned against the wall and looked down at the baby. She was watching him again, those eyes too big, too knowing, too human. "What now?" Jace asked, still catching his breath. Neela didn't answer right away. She was pulling a thin device from her belt. A med scanner. Old model. Human design. Probably stolen. She looked at him nervously, then knelt beside him. "I need to confirm something," she said, fully. "I thought you already said I was her biological father." I said the scan showed a high match, but it was incomplete. They didn't finish the full sequence in court. "I need to know if it's real." She handed him the scanner. "Swipe your thumb here, then hold the device to Luma's shoulder. It will take only a minute." Jace hesitated, but deep down he knew he needed answers. Slowly, he pressed his thumb to the sensor, then carefully placed the scanner on Luma's skin. The machine beeped. A line on the screen flickered, then filled slowly, one segment at a time. Jace watched the numbers scroll. Past, the final line stopped. Paternal DNA match. 99.8%. He stared at the screen. Time felt frozen. That was no maybe, no estimate. It was confirmation. "I'm her father," he whispered. Neela sat down on the floor beside him, arms around her knees. "Yes." Couldn't speak for a long moment. His thoughts swirled memories of his life before this station of waking. Up after that mission, injured and dazed, of the medical tent where strange doctors had treated him. It all made sense now. He had been harvested without consent, and this whole time, you knew. "I suspected," Neela admitted. "But I didn't know it was you until I saw how she looked at you. How she responded." Jace shook his head. "Why did you pick me for this lie? Was it just luck?" "No," she said. "I searched for every man who might have been the donor. The project erased most of the data, but one image, one old scan. Remained of a soldier with a damaged ID, your face. It was enough to find you. You used me, he growled. I saved her. Neela shouted suddenly, her voice echoing in the tunnel. I could have left her in that lab, but I ran. I risked everything. I only lied because no one would help a hybrid child, not without a father to give her identity. Jace didn't reply. He just held Luma closer. She shifted in her carrier, eyes still glowing softly. Then the scanner beeped again. New data flashed on the screen. Warning. Subject shows accelerated neurological development warning. Latent genetic code detected. Human classified red memory gene activity. Jace frowned. What's that mean? Neela leaned over and looked. Her face turned pale. That shouldn't be possible. What is it? She swallowed hard. The red memory gene. It's banned. A long time ago, your species developed tech that let human DNA store encrypted memory knowledge pass through bloodlines. It was too dangerous. The Earth Alliance buried it. Jace stared at her. And now my daughter has it? She doesn't just have it, Neela whispered. It's active. Luma's hand twitched again. The soft light grew brighter. Suddenly, Jace felt something sharp behind his eyes, like a flash of light bursting. Inside his skull, a memory, but not his own. A place he'd never seen, a laboratory on Earth, glass tubes, symbols, ancient machines humming with alien energy. Then another, a map of the stars, coordinates, a signal pulsing out into space, he gasped, pulling back. What was that? Neela looked terrified now. It's not just a hybrid. She's a living key. She's carrying your species' lost knowledge. Somehow, the DNA awakened it. Jace tried to breathe. Uma blinked up at him, innocent, unaware. Before either of them could speak, the lights in the tunnel flickered. Neela jumped up. They're using scanner drones. They'll find us through heat signatures. Jace stood, tightening the carrier straps. His mind was still spinning. But one thing was clear: this wasn't about playing pretend anymore. Luma wasn't just his daughter. She might be humanity's last secret, and everyone in the galaxy wanted her. Neela pulled open the emergency hatch. We have to keep moving. There's one place left where no one can reach us, but we'll have to go through the low zones. Jace nodded, his jaw tight. Whatever the truth was, he wasn't letting her go. Not now, not ever. The emergency hatch opened with a grinding sound, revealing a long vertical shaft, dimly lit and full of dust. Below, the metal ladder looked ancient, rusted, barely clinging to the wall. Pipes hissed and steam leaked from broken seals. It didn't look safe. It definitely didn't look like the kind of place a baby should be carried through. But Jace didn't hesitate. Not anymore. He adjusted Luma's carrier across his chest, held her tight with one arm, and grabbed the first rung with the other. Let's go, he said. Nail followed, sealing the hatch above them. As the sound of the outside world disappeared, the quiet buzz of the shaft felt almost eerie. Their boots echoed with every step. Down they went, deeper into the guts of Kyrax Station, into the low zones, a place where no law reached, where forgotten tech was dumped, and dangerous people hid from the upper levels. Jack had only heard rumors about this place. He never thought he'd actually have to crawl through it, carrying a child whose blood might unlock secrets lost for centuries. After what felt like forever, they reached the bottom. A sliding gate opened into a world far different from the clean, high-tech surface above. The floor was stained with oil and covered in debris. Flickering lights hung from exposed wires. The air smelled of metal, rot, and ozone. Crates were stacked in every direction, forming narrow pathways like a dark maze, and eyes were watching. Them, a group of ragged aliens, stood nearby, tall, insect-like creatures with worn armor and glowing blue eyes. One of them stepped forward, clicking in his own language before switching to broken galactic common. Neela, we remember you. Nodded cautiously. We need a ship. Something unregistered. Something fast. The alien hissed, amused. We don't do favors anymore. Not since last time. Neil reached into her cloak and tossed a credit stick to the ground. It's not a favor. It's business. There's more where that came from. The alien picked up the stick, scanned it, and smiled with sharp yellow teeth. "Follow, quickly." They moved through the crates, deeper into the shadows. Jace stayed close behind, one hand on Luma, one hand on his old blaster. He didn't trust any of this. Luma stirred. Her tiny hand brushed Jace's chest, and again, that strange warmth pulsed through him. For a moment, he swore he could hear voices, not around him, but inside his head. Whispers, maps, equations, words in ancient Earth languages. He didn't even know he remembered. She was doing something to his brain. Without even trying, they reached a hidden hangar. Inside, a ship sat covered in tarp, small, old, and clearly stolen. Neela turned to Jace. "It's not perfect, but it'll get us off this station." He nodded, but his eyes didn't leave Luma. "She's changing me." Neela lowered her voice. "She's not just a child. That gene in her DNA, the red memory sequence, it bonds with people through touch. She's not just remembering, she's transmitting." Jace stared at his hands, shaking slightly. "Then, what happens if the wrong person gets her?" Neela's face darkened. "Then they'll know everything. Locations of human vaults, lost tech, war records, even things Earth buried after the collapse." Before Jace could answer, alarms blared above the hangar. Red lights flashed. Heavy boots slammed against the deck outside. Neela spun around. "They found us again. The alien who brought them." Here hissed, "You must leave now." Jace ran up the ship's ramp and rushed into the cockpit. The controls were dusty but familiar. Neela sat beside him, strapping in as the engines whined to life. "Seal the ramp." She shouted, "On it." Jace slammed a button. Outside, shouting voices grew louder. Gunfire hit the side of the ship, sparks flew. A bullet punched through the metal just inches from Jace's arm. Neela activated the thrusters. "We need to go vertical, right through the service hatch. That thing's not stable." Jace warned, "Neither is staying here." He pulled back the controls. The ship groaned and lifted. Cargo crates scattered. The roof shook as the ship blasted upward, smashing through the weak ceiling panel. Metal tore and rained down in sparks. As they surged toward the outer levels, Jack pushed the engines harder, guiding them through collapsing tunnels and twisting passageways. The ship wasn't meant for this. It rocked and screeched, metal skin groaning under pressure. Then finally they broke through, out of the smoke and debris. Stars appeared. Jace breathed out. "We're out." But the moment of peace didn't. Losta's sleek black ship appeared just ahead, not military, not official. But it was waiting. Nella cursed. "Bounty hunters." Jace squinted. How did they track us?" Neela looked back at Luma. "They're not tracking us. They're tracking her." The ship outside powered up its weapons. A targeting system locked on. Jace grabbed the controls. "And let's see how fast this rust bucket really is." He hit the boosters, and the stars turned into streaks of light. Behind them, Hunter gave chase. But Jace wasn't letting anyone take his daughter. Not. While he was still breathing, the stolen ship rocked violently as it tore through the asteroid field. Sharp black stones drifted like sharks in a frozen sea, each one ready to split their hull in half. Jace's hands gripped the flight controls, sweat beading on his forehead. The engines whined with strain, barely holding together. Behind them, the bounty hunter's ship danced through the chaos like a predator, sleek, fast, and armed to the teeth. Neela slammed her hand against the console, trying to keep the shields balanced. Sparks flew from a damaged panel, shields down to 40%. She shouted, "Then we better not get hit again." Jace growled. He spun the ship hard left, narrowly missing a spinning chunk of asteroid. In the cockpit, Luma sat secured in a crash pod behind them, protected by multiple energy fields. Her eyes were closed, her hands rested calmly on her lap, and she was glowing again. Jace caught it from the corner of his eye, that strange soft light pulsing from her skin. Each pulse seemed to match the rhythm of the ship's engines, almost like she was helping. "She's sinking with the ship," Neela whispered, stunned. "She's doing it instinctively." Jace didn't have time to ask questions. He dove under a jagged asteroid, turned sharp around a ridge, and then sawed a narrow path, leading into a nearby ice moon's shadow. It was risky. It was suicidal. It was perfect. "Hold tight," he warned. He slammed the booster. The ship roared. The bounty hunter's ship followed too close. Too fast. Jace twisted the controls at the last second, guiding the ship through a tight vertical slit between two massive ice cliffs. The bounty ship tried to follow, but clipped. The edge. A fireball exploded behind them, lighting the stars. Jace slowed, gasping, the adrenaline leaving his body all at once. That was too close. Neela didn't answer. She turned toward Luma, eyes wide. The baby had opened her eyes. But they were different now, not just glowing. They were showing symbols, moving shapes. Words like a screen was playing across her irises. Jace unstrapped himself, climbed into the back, and knelt beside her. "Luma," he whispered. She turned her head toward him slowly and smiled. A strange warmth filled Jace's chest. A rush of memories not his own flickered in his mind. Human cities long gone, alien starships drifting in silence. Voices whispering old languages now, and Lade joined him, crouching beside the pod. "Her mind is evolving too fast," she said. "The red memory gene. It's fully awake now." "What does that mean?" Neela took a deep breath. "It means she's not just remembering human history. She's unlocking secrets buried in your DNA, things your species forgot or were never allowed to know." Jace stared at her. "Like what?" Neela opened a secure compartment and pulled out a glowing disc. She inserted it into a small holoreader. A figure flickered into view, an old human man, his face gaunt, voice robotic. "Red memory trial, subject 0046. Warning. Unstable knowledge detected. Memory sequence classified. Danger of species collapse if spread unchecked." Leaned closer, Neela continued. "This project was Earth's last attempt at survival before the collapse. They encoded knowledge into blood, war plans, technology, artificial intelligence, but it was too dangerous. Governments shut it down. They destroyed every subject. Every record, except one." She looked at Luma, and now it lives in her. Jace sat down hard. "So she's a baby. In a living archive of forbidden knowledge?" "Just more than that," Neela whispered. "She's evolving. Her mind is learning to translate what's inside her, and soon she might be able to speak it." Jace shook his head. "No, that's impossible." "She's just a look," Neela interrupted. Luma raised her hand. A small projection flickered to life from her palm. It showed a solar system, not theirs. Different. Red star. 3 planets. "She's showing us something," Jace breathed. The map zoomed in. Symbols danced, a location marked in blue. Neela's face went pale. "That's the Darnet grave. A lost human vault, supposed to be a myth." "Not anymore," Jace said. "She just gave us a roadmap." Luma looked between them, then rested her tiny hand on Jace's chest. A deep calm settled in him. He didn't feel scared anymore. He felt chosen. Like everything in his life, all the broken parts had led to this moment. Not by accident, by design. Suddenly, alarms blared again. Neela rushed to the cockpit. A message blinked across the console. "Multiple ships incoming, no identifiers. Weapons active, they've called for reinforcements," Neela said. "Private hunters? Maybe worse." Jace stood, his face hard. "They're not after us anymore. They're after her." Neela nodded. "We need allies. We need to get off the grid." Jace turned to the map Luma had shown. "We follow her lead. We go to the vault." Neela hesitated. "What?" "There's no guarantee it's safe. That place was sealed for a reason. She's showing it for a reason too." Outside, distant engines roared closer. Jace picked up Luma, who curled softly into his arms. "I don't care what she is," he said. "I don't care who made her. She's mine. And I won't let them take her." Ella looked at him, eyes full of something between awe and guilt. "I believe you," she said quietly. "But you need to understand. The galaxy isn't ready for her. Jace held Luma closer, and we'll make it ready. The stars stretched like silver threads as the stolen ship jumped into hyperspace. Jace sat silently at the edge of the cockpit, watching the streaks, heart pounding, hands still trembling from what Luma had shown him. The child lay asleep in her crash pod, her breathing soft, peaceful to peaceful. Considering the chaos that chased them, Nayla sat beside him, her eyes locked on the star map Luma had projected just hours ago. It was still glowing faintly. On the console, path from here to the Darnak grave. A vault lost to time, erased from every official map. And now a baby had brought it back. She shouldn't be able to do this, Neela whispered, her voice filled with wonder and fear. Her brain isn't just evolving, it's adapting. She's becoming something. More. Jace didn't answer, stared at Luma, his mind spinning with the truth he couldn't unsee. She wasn't just a child. She was a message, a mystery, a miracle, and now a threat. Suddenly, the comm unit crackled. Unknown vessel. This is Earth Command. You're carrying classified genetic material. Power down your ship and prepare for extraction. Jace's head snapped toward the signal. Neela swore under her breath. They found us. Another voice followed, smoother, colder. This is the rival syndicate. Return the prototype, and we'll spare your lives. Two sides. Two enemies. Both willing to kill. Both claiming Luma like she was cargo. Jace leaned forward, speaking into the comm. She's not a weapon. She's a child. Silence, then Earth Command answered. She is human property, and you are unauthorized to possess it. Jace's fists clenched. She's my daughter. More silence. Then Earth cut the line. Neela's hands danced across the console. We can't outrun both of them. They're too close. Then we don't outrun them, Jace said, standing. We go through them. Neela looked at him like he'd lost his mind. You want to fight Earth Command and a criminal syndicate? In the same day? I want to protect my daughter, he snapped. That's what I want. He moved to the cargo bay, where an old weapons locker rattled from the ship's shaking. He pried it open and found what he needed, a dusty plasma rifle, EMP grenades, and a small disruptor drone. Neela followed him. This is suicide, I know, Jace said, checking the rifle's power core. It's fatherhood. Luma stirred. Her eyes opened slowly. And once again, strange lights moved across her pupils. More symbols, more stars, more voices. She raised her hand. A low hum filled the air. And then something happened. The ship stopped vibrating. The alarm silenced. Even the hum of the engines quieted, replaced by a different sound. A low, deep tone. Like a song from the center of the galaxy. Nalea looked around in disbelief. She stopped everything. Luma sat up in the pod, her tiny hands still glowing. She turned toward Jace, not with the look of a baby, but with the calm focus of someone ancient. Her lips moved, and then she spoke. Danger is near. Must go, ... to the vault. Jace stumbled backward. Did she just... Dalea dropped. To her knees beside the pod, eyes wide, she's talking. Complete words, sentence structure. This shouldn't be possible. Luma reached for Jace. He stepped forward slowly, kneeling beside her. She touched his cheek. The glow passed into his skin. In his mind, he saw at Earth's hidden labs, scientists in panic. Orders to erase the Red Memory Project, the destruction of knowledge too dangerous to control. He also saw the rival syndicate, not mercenaries, but the original buyers of the genetic data. They had planned to sell the Red Memory gene to the highest bidder, until Earth shut it down, and somehow Luma had all of it inside her. She's not just knowledge, Jace whispered. She's proof. Proof of what? Neela asked. That humans were never meant to forget. Jace stood and looked out the window. The enemy ships were closing in. One was already within visual range, sleek, black, and glowing red. The other, even larger, bore Earth's logo. Cold steel and authority. We don't have time to run, Neela said. And the Darnak vault is still hours away. Jace walked back to the cockpit and activated the external speaker. This is Jace Rillen, he said loudly. You want her? Come and take her. Then he cut power to the engines and waited. Nella turned to him, shocked. "What are you doing? Something stupid?" The two enemy ships slowed, preparing to board. Jace looked back at Luma one last time. She smiled at him, then she raised her hand again. A sphere of light expanded from her. Fingers silent, soft, and in that moment, time seemed to bend. The enemy ships suddenly lost power. Their lights flickered. Weapons failed. Engines stalled. Luma's eyes blazed and her voice echoed in every language at once. "You do not own life. You do not own me." The light faded. Jace was speechless. Neela stared, tears forming. In her eyes, Luma had stopped two ships, without moving from her seat. "She's more than knowledge," Neela said softly. "She's justice." Jace reached down and took her into his arms, and as the stars returned outside their window, they turned the ship toward the vault, because the galaxy needed to hear her voice, and he would be the one to carry it there. The stars stretched like silver threads as the stolen ship jumped into hyperspace. Jay sat silently at the edge of the cockpit, watching the streaks, heart pounding, hands still trembling from what Luma had shown him. The child lay asleep in her crash pod, her breathing soft, peaceful to peaceful. Considering the chaos that chased them, Neela sat beside him, her eyes locked on the star map Luma had projected just hours ago. It was still glowing faintly. On the console, path from here to the Darnek grave, a vault lost to time, erased from every official map. And now a baby had brought it back. She shouldn't be able to do this. Neela whispered, her voice filled with wonder and fear. Her brain isn't just evolving, it's adapting. She's becoming something. More. Jace didn't answer. He stared at Luma, his mind spinning with the truth he couldn't unsee. She wasn't just a child. She was a message, a mystery, a miracle, and now a threat. Suddenly, the CUM unit crackled. Unknown vessel. This is Earth Command. You are carrying classified genetic material. Power down your ship and prepare for extraction. Jace's head snapped toward the signal. Neela swore under her breath. They found us. Another voice followed, smoother, colder. This is the rival syndicate. Return the prototype and we'll spare your lives. Two sides, two enemies. Both willing to kill, both claiming Luma like she was cargo. Jayak leaned forward, speaking into the CUM. She's not a weapon. She's a child. Silence, then Earth Command answered. She is human property. You are unauthorized to possess it. Jace's fists clenched. She's my daughter. More silence. Then Earth cut the line. Neela's hands danced across the console. We can't outrun both of them. They're too close. Then we don't outrun them, Jace said, standing. We go through them. Neela looked at him like he'd lost his mind. You want to fight Earth Command in a criminal syndicate? In the same day? I want to protect my daughter, he snapped. That's what I want. He moved to the cargo bay, where an old weapons locker rattled from the ship's shaking. He pried it open and found what he needed, a dusty plasma rifle, 2 EMP grenades, and a small disruptor drone. Neela followed him. This is suicide, Jace said, checking the rifle's power core. It's fatherhood. Suddenly, Luma stirred. Her eyes opened slowly. And once again, strange lights moved across her pupils. More symbols, more stars, more voices. She raised her hand. A low hum filled the air. And then, something happened. The ship stopped vibrating. The alarms silenced. Even the hum of the engines quieted, replaced by a different sound. A low, deep tone. Like a song from the center of the galaxy, Neela looked around in disbelief. She stopped everything. Luma sat up in the pod, her tiny hands still glowing. She turned toward Jace, not with the look of a baby, but with the calm focus of someone ancient. Her lips moved, and then she spoke. Danger is near. Must go, to the vault. Jace stumbled backward. Did she just... Neela dropped to her knees beside the pod, eyes wide. She's talking. Complete words. Sentence structure. Shouldn't be possible. Luma reached for Jace. He stepped forward slowly, kneeling beside her. She touched his cheek. The glow passed into his skin. In his mind, he saw at Earth's hidden labs, scientists in panic. Orders to erase the Red Memory Project, the destruction of knowledge too dangerous to control. He also saw the rival syndicate, not mercenaries, but the original buyers of the genetic data. They had planned to sell the Red Memory gene to the highest bidder, till Earth shut it down. And somehow, Luma had all of it inside her. "She's not just knowledge," Jace whispered. "She's proof." "Proof of what?" Neela asked. "That humans were never meant to forget." Jace stood and looked out the window. The enemy ships were closing in. One was already within visual range, sleek, black, and glowing red. Rival syndicate. The other, even larger, bore Earth's logo, cold steel, and authority. "We don't have time to run," Neela said. "The Darnak vault is still hours away." Jace walked back to the cockpit and activated the external speaker. "This is Jace Relin," he said loudly. "You want her? Come and take her." Then he cut power to the engines and waited. Nella turned to him, shocked. "What are you doing?" "Something stupid." The two enemy ships slowed, preparing to board. Jace looked back at Luma one last time. She smiled at him. Then she raised her hand again. A sphere of light expanded from her fingers, silent, soft, and in that moment time seemed to bend. The enemy ships suddenly lost power. Their lights flickered. Weapons failed. Engines stalled. Luma's eyes blazed and her voice echoed in every language at once. "You do not own life. You do not own me." The light faded. Jace was speechless. Neela stared, tears forming. In her eyes, Luma had stopped to ships, without moving from her seat. "She's more than knowledge," Neela said softly. "She's justice." Jace reached down and took her into his arms, and as the stars returned outside their window, they turned the ship toward the vault, because the galaxy needed to hear her voice, and he would be the one to carry it there. The ship soared toward a forgotten corner of the galaxy, a dead system with no name, orbiting a red dwarf star that barely gave off light. Jace stared out the viewport as the vault came into view. A massive metal ring floating in space, cracked by time but still alive. Ancient Earth markings glowed. Along its surface, symbols that hadn't been used for over 200 years. Neela sat at the console, silently running scans. "It's sealed," she said, just like the record said. "No entry points, no broadcasts, no life." "She opened it," Jace said quietly, holding Luma in his arms. "She's the key." The moment they drifted close, the ship's lights flickered, but not from damage. Luma had opened her eyes. Her glow returned. Brighter now, stronger. She raised her hand slowly toward the window. The vault responded, one by one. The markings across its surface lit up. A massive door invisible before cracked open with a grinding sound that echoed across space, and Alay gasped. "It's responding to her frequency, as if she's part of it." Jace held her tighter, heart pounding. "Let's finish this." They guided the ship into the opening. Inside, the vault was larger than anything they had expected, an entire city buried in silence. Giant towers floated in zero gravity. Data cables thick as trees hung from the ceiling, and at the center, a glowing sphere pulsed slowly like the heartbeat of a sleeping machine as they landed. Luma began to hum softly, a strange melodic tune that made the walls shimmer. She wriggled in Jace's arms, wanting to walk. He hesitated, but she smiled and said, "It's okay." She stepped forward, tiny feet touching the glowing metal floor. The sphere pulsed faster than voices. They came from everywhere, thousands of them, whispers in ancient Earth languages, synthetic voices, scientists, historians, soldiers. It was as if the vault itself had been waiting for someone like her to arrive. "She's unlocking it all," Neela whispered. "She's triggering the entire archive." Luma walked forward alone, hand outstretched. The sphere opened like a flower, revealing a beam of light. It scanned her, then projected holograms into the air maps, blueprints, recordings. One message grew clearer than the rest. A bearded human scientist, looking exhausted and pale, appeared. "If you're seeing this, it means humanity still has a chance. The Red Memory Project was a failure and a success. We hid it, buried it, because the knowledge was too powerful. But if you found this vault, if the key reached you, you were meant to lead the new era." Luma turned to look at Jace. Her small voice echoed louder than her sighs. "I remember. Everything." Jace stepped closer, confused and afraid. "What do you mean?" She pointed at the projection. "The vault holds Earth's last hopes. Medical cures. Clean energy. Plans to fix dying worlds. Truths. Governments buried. It's all hidden here, in me." Neela stood beside him, her voice tight with emotion. "But if this gets out, war will follow. Every power in the galaxy will want it." "I know," Jace said. Luma reached for him. "I trust you." He picked her up, holding her close. The warmth of her body felt heavier now, not just a child, but history itself. A living archive. A child of science and accident, love and betrayal. And she had chosen him. A console rose from the floor, blinking with a simple command: upload or erase. Neela looked at him. "We can give the truth back to the galaxy, or we can protect her by burying it forever." Jace stared at the console. His heart ached. The galaxy wasn't ready. Too many governments, too many corporations. Too many greedy hands would twist this knowledge into weapons. Luma would be hunted for the rest of her life. But hiding it again meant wasting the chance to fix everything Earth had broken. He looked at Luma. "What do you want?" She rested her head on his chest. "I want to live, but I want others to live too." Jace nodded. He touched the console. "Upload. CIO and FIR Medea." The vault exploded with light. Signals shot into deep space, bouncing off relay stations, satellites, old Earth outposts. All across the galaxy, screens came to life. Scientists gasped, leaders panicked. People watched in awe as knowledge thought lost forever was suddenly reborn. Clean power sources, disease cures, truths behind galactic conflicts, blueprints for peace. The truth couldn't be contained anymore. Neela stepped forward. "We have to go, before they find us again." Jace carried Luma back to the ship. She was humming softly again, eyes glowing, but peacefully now. They launched from the vault. Behind them, the great ring folded in on itself, locking down as if its job was complete. News had already spread. Reactions poured in, riots, celebrations, debates. But one thing was clear: nothing in the galaxy would be the same again. Inside the ship, Luma looked up at Jace. "Am I real?" she asked, her voice small. He smiled and kissed her forehead. "You're more real than anyone I've ever known." And as they disappeared into the stars, hunted by some, hoped for by many, one thing remained true. A child born in secret, carrying forgotten truth, now had a father, and humanity had a future. Again.